Hello, I'm back again, yes. Okay, so in the previous video I showed you a little technique for dodging on this, what you might see in wildlife photograph, this crow shot on the old D300 years and years ago, and we went from this, the original raw file, over to this where we'd actually lightened up the foreground reeds from behind a restrictive mask created in Lumenzia and inside of Photoshop. Right, so just so as you know, dodging and burning is a technique that's been around for years and years and years, and it was a darkroom technique that we employed in printing by basically holding our hands underneath an enlarger lens with the paper below, and we're doing a print, and we used to dodge, and then what we'd do is we'd shield off and we'd just sort of burn in a little bit. So dodging and burning, and so dodging equates to making things lighter and burning equates to making things darker. So what we did was we actually lightened up the out of focus foreground reeds of this image. So we did a dodging exercise. What I want to do is today look at burning and also using dodging and burning together. And I really want to keep this very simple. And so I'm going to just stick with wildlife images, because it just goes to show that these techniques are valid irrespective of what genre of photography you do. And of course I'm going to nip over here into Photoshop when it will fire up. Come on, yes, here we go. So we've got this first image. We'll make it a little bit bigger and we'll carry on. So in this particular shot, what I want to do, we've processed the eagle, we've processed the shot for the eagle in Lightroom, and then we've scooted it over into Photoshop. But the sky looks a little bit wishy-washy. There's that technical term again. Yeah. It looks a bit meh, bit wishy-washy. And what we could do with is actually changing the blue in the relatively cloudless blue sky, giving it a little bit more saturation, maybe, not much, but making it darker, and then the bird itself will stand out. And straight away you'll think, well, you're going to make a mask, and you'd be 100% correct. But let's just go and do this straight away. We could actually do this quite successfully in Lightroom by just changing the saturation and the luminosity of the blue channel, but that would have a tendency to, maybe not so much on this shot, but maybe on another shot, that might eat into other sort of relatively neutral white or grey components in the subject that you don't really want to touch. So really and truly, doing it in Photoshop is just as good, if not a little bit more precise. So anyway, we're going to use Greg Benz's Lumenzia again. If you haven't got it, go and get it. Link below in the description. And so let's get on and do this sky. So I'm going to create a new layer, just the same as we did in the previous video. We're going to put that into the soft light blend mode, and because we've got this layer active, when we make a mask or we create a mask, we won't need to apply it as a selection first and then mask it, because the layer's already created. We'll be able to hit the masking key straight away. So instead of just going and picking a light mask, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selective, and we're going to come up here into these coloured squares, and I'm going to choose blue. So straight away I'm constraining Lumenzia to only look at the blue content of the image, and we'll go for a light one, and there's the mask. Now you'll see the eagle is pretty much black. It's got one or two areas in the tail especially that are white, yeah, so they are actually sort of, if you like, a little bit see-through, so you're seeing a little bit of the blue sky through the actual feathers, and they're also picking up the colour of the ambient light, which is blue, yeah. So hence parts of the tail feathers, the white tail feathers, will look blue where they're white and grey in the actual shot. So, you know, this is the sort of thing I'm talking about, where you might actually get a beneficial result doing it in Photoshop than you would in Lightroom. But anyway, it's neither here nor there, really. So all we're going to do is, now we've got the mask made, I'm not going to make any adjustments to it. So the sky is going to be this grey colour. So straight away you know that the adjustment I'm going to put on the sky is going to be somewhat restrictive. I could actually go and get the global levels adjustment, and I'm going to leave the whites where they are, I'll leave the blacks where they are, and I might just pull down the mid-tone slider and make the sky a little bit whiter. But now you can see we've got chunks of the tail feathers which are becoming slightly more pale, so we might just add a couple of points to the black, and so you can see the actual sky is sort of heading back the way it was before we did the mid-tone adjustment, but either or. So we're just going to add that as a mask, and of course we can't apply it as a mask there because I've been clicking on the levels layer. So we'll go and activate this layer here, and we'll just click mask, and there we go. So here's our soft light adjustment layer, and there is, if I hold the Alt key down, there's the mask that we've just created with Lumenzia. So we'll right click on there, and then we'll come and click on our adjustment layer. Well, it's not an adjustment layer really, is it? It's a painting layer. And then we'll go and hit B to pull up our brush tool, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to choose a colour from the sky. Now what I want to do is I want to darken the sky down, so we'll need to sort of pull the point down a little bit to darken the sky. Now if you were doing this in a landscape photograph and you were doing lots and lots of little local adjustments inside there with a brush, fine detail or relatively fine detail, quite frequently it's best to desaturate, because you can get saturation sort of running away with you when you start dodging and burning. But for this is quite a simple exercise. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to put the saturation up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is drag the actual selector over to the right until we've got a colour a bit like that. In point of fact, I might just drag it down and to the right a little bit more. Now if you go back and watch the previous video, you might have seen my colour picker looking like this, and I've got this ramp up here where I can keep the same hue of colour if you like, but I can change its brightness. So if that's not what you're after, we can come and click on the HSB style of layout for the colour picker, and that's where we're working at the minute. You can also go and use the RGB layout, where you can actually change your hues on this ramp here, but for the most part, and I think the default for Photoshop's colour picker is HSB. So anyway, we've picked our colour, so we'll click OK, and I'm not going to use a very big brush, and it's going to be hardness of 0, and we'll paint with 55% opacity. So basically, to get the full effect, we're going to have to go over it at least twice. Alright, and all we're going to do is just start painting, and because that eagle is black in the image, then we can't paint over the eagle. But what we can paint over is the parts of the tail feathers that are white and are picking up some of that blue tint from the ambient light. And yes, so that's one pass. And as you can see here, there's the before, there's the after. We could go over it again and begin to get a fuller effect from the brush, rather like that. Don't have to be 100% uniform, but you don't want to leave any scribbly brush marks, and so we can count that as done basically when the brush is caught up. So there's our before shot and there's our after shot. What I want to do is come over to this other image, because this has been burning. So what we're going to do here on this next image is we're going to use both burning and dodging. I'll show you, I'll discuss why I'm going to do this sort of split technique on this image. I like the eagle, he's quite bright, but I do like it in this shot, but I don't like the water. And we can see we've got all these water droplets here, but they don't stand out very much. The water is a slightly odd colour. It's a cobalty blue, but there is it just seems a little bit magenta-ish to me. But the main thing is this: the water actually looks quite flat, and when I say flat, it looks dull flat. There is very, very little in the way of depth perception to the actual water itself. I mean, this water here is directly below the bird, and this water over here in the background is probably 250 meters away. Well, no, probably 100 meters away, or just something like that. And so really and truly we should have a contrast and saturation fall off, so it should look a little bit lighter and a little bit less saturated. And really in the foreground we could do with emphasizing this foreground water here. So we're going to use the two techniques. The first technique that we looked at in the first video, that was dodging. In other words, we made the reeds go lighter, and we're also going to use burning, which is what we've just done in the previous image. And we are going to burn in a bit of extra colour and a bit of extra contrast into this foreground, and we're going to dodge out contrast and colour in this background. It will all become apparent very simply and very easily. So we're going to add two new layers, and this one we're going to call dodge, and this one we're going to call burn. So dodge is lighten, burn is darken, and we didn't double click there, did we? So burn. And then both of these layers need to be put in the soft light blend mode, and we're away. So we're going to select the burn layer first, and this is the adjustment we're going to make on the foreground. And instead of going to a light, I'm going to use a darks mask now, but I'm still going to constrain Lumenzia to actually look solely for blue pixels. And we're going to go for a darks one, and look at that, the bird is coal black. That's what we want. I know we've got one or two speculas over here, which if we were going to create a masterpiece out of this, we would remove, but for the sake of this tutorial we're not going to bother. If I was going to make a masterpiece of it, I'd probably do it with a little bit more control and use a darks 2 mask, but because this is going on video, video compression's a bit of a bastard and it sort of stops you from seeing certain degrees of subtle adjustment, we're going to use a darks 1. And because this burn layer is the active layer and this is the mask we want to use for the burn layer, we don't need to bother selecting this selection. We just apply this selection directly as a mask. So we click the masking icon, and there is our mask. Right, So we need to come onto the actual layer itself, and we're going to go and pick a colour, and we're going to come here and we'll just sample just in there, get ourselves a bit of a light colour going. That's this one here, and we're going to pretty much darken it down and add some extra saturation, and we'll probably go to about there. And then we'll pull up our brush tool again, and keeping out to this relatively small view so we can see what we're doing and get a handle on how our adjustment, if you like, affects the overall look and feel of the image. That's why we're zoomed out. And what we're going to do is we're going to start painting, and I'm just going to paint just along there with 2 full strokes of the brush just on this immediate foreground. And if I turn it off and then turn it back on again, you can see the change that we've made. Now we made 2 passes along there. I'm now going to make a double pass along there like that, and then I'm going to make a single pass along the middle ground. Okay, so let's just have a look at the change we've made so far. Now you can see, because you saw the adjustment, you can now see how much lighter the water in the foreground is and how much darker it is in the background. And if you think about it, for creating the illusion of depth, perceived depth in a 2-dimensional image, that is just completely the wrong way around. This looks a lot better. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come onto the dodge layer. Now we need to make a mask for the dodging adjustment that we're going to make. The only thing is, we've already got the mask here. So if I go and select that mask and Command or Control click on it, and then there you can see the selection for that mask, and I go and activate the dodge layer and then just go and click the masking icon, now I've got the same mask duplicated on this layer here. So coming back into the pixel layer itself, and what we're going to do is just change out, and we're going to go for some lighter pixels, and I'm going to actually make this colour lighter, and I'm going to desaturate it by moving it to the left. And so we'll click OK, and then what we'll do is we'll just come in right at the top and we'll do 2 passes across there. And so if we just turn that layer off, that's how dark the background water was in the shot originally, and now that's what we've done to it. I'm now going to make a single stroke pass across, rather like that. And so if I select both of these layers and I just go Command or Control G to turn them into a group, and that group will be both dodge and burn. And if I take the group off, that's our original image, and if I turn the group back on, that's our new image. We might think, does that look alright? Does it need to be turned down a bit? Does it need to be that strong of a change across the image? Well, we can actually go and add a mask to that group, and then just working from white to black with our gradient tool. So it's white at the bottom, black at the top, and we can just hold the Shift key down and just draw a gradient from there to just about there. And so now we've got a gradient fill mask on our dodge burn group. We turn it off, we turn it on, we turn it off, we turn it on. So now you can see that we can only see the adjustment that we made in the middle to foreground. So what we're going to do is we're going to feather this group mask and then just drop its density a little bit. And so now if we turn the group off, we can turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, bring the density down a little bit more, turn the group off, turn the group on, and I quite like that balance. So that adjustment in the background was just a little bit too aggressive. But anyway, there you go. So we've looked at using dodging and burning collectively on the same image. and I'm sure you'll agree it makes a heck of a difference, even to a simple, straightforward wildlife image. So because it's such a powerful way of working on such a simple image, just imagine how good it is when we bring this technique to bear on landscape images. Yes. So, as I said in the previous video, I am going to be doing a dodge and burn tutorial sometime in the next few weeks or so. So keep your eyes open for that. And I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, if you found it useful, don't forget, go and click the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, click the little ringety-tingety bell to get a notification the next time I put a video up. And all I've got left to do is say thank you for viewing. If you do like it, thanks for giving it a bit of a thumbs up. Thanks to you for all subscribing to my channel. We're not all that far away from 1,000 subscribers now. Whee! And again, a big thanks to all my supporters over on my Patreon channel, who actually give me the ability to produce these videos for free. Okay, so as I said before, hope you found it useful, and until the next time, guys, tooroo.